Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Plant Systematics class. In the previous videos, we discussed calyx and corolla and the general characters of the flower. Now it's time to discuss the next one, which is the third one, androecium or stamens. So as we have seen in sepals and petals, they were all 5. So androecium or stamens are also 5. So we have 5 stamens and they are poly, but we are not going to use it. So they are apoandrous. Polyandrous free or apoandrous, they are free. So stamens are free from each other. There is no union of any kind among the stamens. The insertion of the stamens is such that they alternate with the petals. So if we have a flower in which these are the, suppose, petals, 5 petals, so androecium are present here. They alternate with the, so this is the position of the stamens, that is they alternating with petals. Moreover, the stamens, they arise from an epigynous disc. Since the flower of Apiaceae is epigynous, so we have a disc present at the top of the thalamus here, and they arise from this disc. So we have 5 stamens arising from this epigynous. So this is the epigynous disc from which the 5 stamens arise. Stamens are 5 and they are free, apoandrous. They arise from an epigynous disc, and this is their alternate position. So they alternate with petals. Right. Next is their position in the bud, and when the bud opens and they come out, so they are inflexed in the bud condition. In the previous video we saw a term reflexed. So reflexed is bent backward or downward. So inflex is the opposite, that is bent forward. This is, let's make an arrow so that, because they both seem the same thing. So now you can get the idea that this is reflexed, bent backward or downward, and this is also downward, but this is forward, bent forward. So obviously they'll go down. So it is, the main difference is their direction. So this is forward and this is backward. This is reflexed and this is inflexed. So they are inflexed in bud, that is bent forward and downwards, but they spread out when the bud opens. Spread out when the floral bud opens. So this was their position in the bud and when they come out. As you know that in stamens we have 2 parts, 2 basic parts, the filament and the anther. So this is the filament and this is the anther, or we can draw it like this. So this is the anther and the filament. Now how filament is attached or how anther is attached to the filament. So one of the condition is versatile. Now versatile position is such that usually the anther and the filament, they are somewhat at a right angle, as you can see here. So this is the anther, and this is its filament. Now the attachment is such that this anther can swing freely in both ways. That is, if you try to move it this way or this way, then it can swing both ways. So it can move both ways or swing both ways. So this is what we call versatile. Since it is not possible here on the screen to demonstrate it, but hopefully you get the idea that this is not fixed. When it is fixed, if you try to move the anther in either direction, either in this direction or in this direction, it will break and it will get separated from the filament. But versatile is when it can swing, so it can swing both ways, either ways. So this is what we call versatile. So it is versatile. The attachment, I have drawn it what we call the Darcy fixed. So this is, let's draw it again, the Darcy fixed. So the attachment of the filament and the anthers is this way. So this is what we call Darcy fixed. But it can also be Basie fixed, but in both cases it is mostly versatile. So the anther is, the base of the anther is attached, or filament is attached to the base of the anther. So this is Basie fixed, and this one is Darcy fixed, and it can swing, it can move either ways, it can swing both ways. So this was the attachment of the anther and the filament. Next is the anthers are dithecous. As you know, the anther lobes, they contain pollen grains. So these are two anther lobes and they contain pollen grains, and mostly there are two pollen grains in each anther lobe. So this is the filament attached here, and this is an anther lobe, and this is the other anther lobe. So two anther lobes, and usually both the anther lobes contain two pollen sacs. So this condition in which each anther lobe contains two microsporangia or two pollen sacs. Each anther lobe, what it contains, are two pollen sacs or microsporangia. Two pollen sacs. So there is a total of, so this is one pollen sac. They are usually arranged longitudinally. So this is the other pollen sac. So this is the condition. So it is known as dithecous, containing two pollen sacs in each anther lobe. So a total of 4 pollen sacs. So it is dithecous. And then its dehiscence, how the anther lobes open up to release the pollen grains. So the dehiscence or opening up of the anther lobes is, now there are two terms. One of them tells us that the opening up of the anther, whether it is towards the center of the flower or away from it, and other the mode of splitting up of the wall of the anther, or the method of opening up of the wall of the anther. So the first term is introse. So introse and extrose. Now this is, say, center of the flower, and this is the anther. Now the anther lobes, they open up from this side towards the center of the flower. So this is what we call introse. And if they open up on the other side, so this is the flower, this is the center of the flower, and this is the filament, and this is the anther. If it opens up on this side away from the center, so this is extrose. So their opening up is towards the center. the side of the anther facing the center of the flower, it splits and releases the pollen grain. So this is what we call introse, and extrose is its opposite. So this is the position of the side which opens up. So well, if this side faces the center, it is introse, and if it is on the other side, then it is away from the center, then it is extrose. So these are two terms, introse and extrose. Next is the mode or method of opening up of the anther. So that is usually slits arise. There are various ways, various modes through which an anther lobe opens up, and one of them is which is here found in family Apiaceae, and that is longitudinal. So the opening up of the anther is a longitudinal slit in the anther. So these are anther lobes. So there is a longitudinal slit like this, and the anthers open up and release the pollen grain. So this is longitudinal. So these are two terms, the extrose and introse, telling us the position of the opening of the anther, whether it faces the center or it is away from the center. And next is the mode of opening, and that is longitudinal. Now there are different modes like porous and transverse and valvular and so forth. So this one is longitudinal. A longitudinal slit appears in the wall of the anther facing the center of the flower, and the pollen grains are released. So this was the discussion of stamens or androecium and anthers. In the next video, we are going to discuss the final part of the flower, which is gynoecium. So that will be in the coming video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.